that a serial number was visible in ultraviolet light. And in 2018, when the story came out, the government at that time said that there was no tracking happening. You agree with that. You say no tracking was actually meant to happen. But the tracking clearly has happened, right? That's clear. Now, please explain, to start with, were these alphanumeric codes meant to exist, or were they not meant to exist?
So, Barkha, I don't think this statement is correct that the tracking was taking place. Recording alphanumeric numbers unlawfully and in a secretive manner by SBI beyond the mandate of the scheme in a clandestine manner, which was not available to anyone until after the Supreme Court judgment, was not a tracking thing. I would ask you, and I think Mr. Chhokar can confirm this as well, despite that story in early 2018, which we had in fact clarified then and there itself that we have some security.
And that clarification is on the screen, what the PIB said in 2018, that this is a random serial number and it is not meant for tracking purposes. That was the clarification, correct?
This was not an identification number. This is only for security purpose. And this cannot be and is not required to be recorded and to be tracked by anyone. So this despite this clarification, and I think that clarification was credible enough that everyone really forgot about whether the alphanumeric number or any security feature actually existed. And that's where I was posing this question to Mr. Chhokar for confirmation. What I'm saying is that until the Supreme Court delivered its judgment, I'm not saying before, until the Supreme Court delivered its judgment, post that, did anyone, including the petitioners who Mr. Chhokar represented, ever used in any of the petition or in argument that there existed any alphanumeric number, or for that matter, even Supreme Court used or referred to this in its judgment, right? The fact is that no one really knew about it. No one really thought this existed. And that is, to my mind, the perfect proof. There was suspicion. There was suspicion in the civil society that there is some way the government...
So what was the number? I'll get Jagdeep ji in a second, but what was the number that was visible under the UV light? The invisible number embedded on the bond, what was that number, according to you, Subhash?
That's what I'm saying. This is that alphanumeric number embedded as a security feature.
So you knew it was embedded. It was embedded as a security feature, not meant to track, according to you.
Absolutely. This was designed as a security feature. But please, I think, take what I'm saying seriously, that no one actually took note of this number or found this out. It was two things which later on sort of combined to make this a phenomenon as it is today. Number one, that silly mistake by SBI to say that we will provide you a matching if you give us 4 months' time. People's antenna then got risen, definitely, that if there is something matching, if the SBI can match, what is that they can match on? And also, I may be a partial culprit for that. In your show and elsewhere, I started mentioning that there is an alphanumeric number, which is the only way you can actually link. Otherwise, you can't link it at all.
So I am still confused, but I'm going to bring in Jagdeep ji in, because one thing I don't understand is that if there is a code and it is embedded, तो कोई तो उसको track कर रहा है. Maybe it's never meant to come in the public domain, but कोई तो उसको track कर रहा है. But Professor Chhokar, let me bring you in. You're the key petitioner. It's a big victory for you, but the debate is carrying on. You heard Mr. Garg make many comments that you felt I should have done a better follow-up on. So here we are back. Jagdeep ji, go ahead.
Well, first of all, we need an hour and a half program to discuss your discussion with Mr. Garg yesterday. Mr. Garg, you will forgive me if I quote you as I saw you on the video yesterday. You said at 2.45, there was no identification number on the bond. Now, let me interpret it for myself. There was a number on the bond. Whether it was identification number or a security number or a telephone number or the date, there was a number which was not visible to the naked eye, but which was visible under the ultraviolet light. Mr. Garg, you also said yesterday, and please forgive me, people were not aware that there was an alphanumeric code. And you said nobody ever mentioned it anywhere. Yes, I cannot say whether it was mentioned on the petition or in the arguments in the court, but I myself have written many articles and I have spoken about it in many places that there is an alphanumeric number which was said to be not there, but which is there. And subsequently, sir, you also said, there was nothing mentioned about this in the scheme because SBI was not formally required to, FBI was not formally told not to record it because there was no point in recording anything in a scheme which did not exist. And then you also went on to say a very interesting thing. This was my problem. You said the whole world came to know of this in the Supreme Court judgment. तो मुझे लगा पूनम अग्रवाल को बड़ा दुख होगा कि उसने 2000 रुपए खर्च किए और किसी को पता भी नहीं चला. And then you also said that it was not part of the scheme. It was not part of the system. If it was not part of the scheme, it was not part of the system, how did it get embedded on the physical bond? And nobody did anything about it because only people who bought bonds could have done anything about it. And they were not interested in doing anything about it. So you are absolutely right. Nobody did anything. But वो उसके लिए तो 2000 रुपया 1000 रुपया खर्च करना पड़ता है. वो तो है नहीं हमारे पास.
So I'm very happy to note that your interviewers and our interview has been very carefully watched. But I think the questions are quite. मुझे भी कुछ confusion है, Subhash ji. Picking up on Jagdeep ji's points, you yourself say that there is the number embedded on the bonds, which is visible in the UV light, which is the story that Poonam Agarwal broke. Correct? Let's go step by step. You agree with this, Subhash ji?
So this is not an identification number. It's a security feature embedded for the security purposes. It doesn't exist anywhere.
Number तो है ना.
अरे भाई number we do in our currency notes. We have 17 security features.
The simple question is, was there a number embedded in the electoral bond or not?
Can I ask a question? The number that is embedded on the bond, is that the number that has now come out in the public domain? Because if it is the same number, we are surmising.
Barkha, it
Yes.
is irrelevant.
Okay.
Yes. No, this is the number which has come out.
So then that means it was always being tracked, sir. If the number on the bond is the number that has come out, then it was always being tracked. Acha, okay, Jagdeep, you ask.
My question is not whether it was tracked or not. My question is, or my contention is, the number existed. And for anyone, however so high and respectable, due apologies, Mr. Garg, to say that the number did not exist. I mean, I just can't accept this. There is a number which is meant for XYZ. To say that there was no number, I mean, I find it very strange to reconcile these two statements.
I can understand, Chhokar Saab, your predicament, but please understand the difference between a security feature and an identification number. Security feature can be anything. It could be a picture, it can be a number, it can be anything, right? For maybe we did not think it that important it to be. We chose the number as the security feature. Suppose we had put some pictures or some mixed up security feature. So this is any identification number is what is there on the bond visible to everyone. What is invisible is not the identification number. It's not supposed to exist for anyone.
ये जो number था, sir, ये जो the number that was embedded, the number that was embedded,
Yes.
ये क्या number था? ये क्या number था? One second, Mr. Garg. हाँ, आप बताइए. हाँ, what was that number?
This is what the alphanumeric number which has come out, which was
so the number on the bond meant to be visible only in UV light is the alphanumeric code that is now in the public domain.
I don't know, Barkha. Why can't you differentiate this being something on the bond and something in the bond, inside the bond? What is something on the bond? There was nothing on the bond. There is a difference.
I let Jagdeep Ji come in. I am not the expert in this case. Jagdeep Ji, please go ahead.
There is a difference, linguistically speaking, between in and on. But seriously speaking, going on semantic, the number that was put in the bond could be used also for tracking. And as it turns out, it seemed to have been used for tracking. So to say that it was only meant for security and we could have put some other feature, whoa, that would have been great if another feature would have been put which could not have been used for tracking. The fact that the feature put in for security had the potential of being used as tracking and subsequent events show it was actually used for tracking, to me rings a bell. That the purpose was not so innocent that it was only for tracking और उसके जगह फोटो लगाइए, watermark लगाइए, बहुत कुछ लगाइए. But the feature that came out, which was, let me reiterate, which was first not disclosed deliberately, I would say, although it may not be deliberate, but I have a right to say that. Then it was found by some buddy, XYZ, let us not harass one person. When it came to light, it was said it is for this purpose. But the feature had the potentiality to be used for another purpose, which actually, as Mr. Garg says, sabotaged the entire scheme. So the selection of the feature was faulty. Whether the faulty was by mistake or deliberate, I don't know.
It's a very fair question, and I want to add one question. Can I add a question? Can I add one? Acha, aap pehle boliye.
No, I must respond to this. See, this is true. Potentially, this number could have been used for tracking. I don't deny this, right? But that was possible only if the issuer notes it against the person to which it was issued, a bond was issued. And again, it is recorded against the political party which deposited the bond. If you don't do this, even if the number exists, even if the alphanumeric number existed inside the bond, there is no way you can match it. Because if you have not noted against a buyer that who bought a particular bond and against a political party which deposited it, you can't again match it, right? So the SPI was specifically very clearly directed as per the scheme not to note it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You have agreed with Jagdeep Ji that there is an alphanumeric embedded on the bond, right?
Oh, yeah. Not Jagdeep Ji. This we had agreed in 2018 itself.
But in 2018, can I go back to the previous slide on our screen? In 2018, the government says, can I go back to this is a random serial number that cannot be used to track transactions. This is the PIB press release in 2018, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
This is a random number. This is a random number which cannot be used for tracking unless somebody records it illegally.
So this means all through the SBI has been illegally recording these numbers. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that is a big statement, and I want to get Jagdeep Ji in. Jagdeep Ji, go ahead.
in defense of CBI. As famously the Solicitor General said in the court, I am not appearing for SBI. But let me say that Mr. Garg says that issuer was told not to record it. But yesterday he said there was no point in writing anything for something that did not exist. So how can today we say SBI was specifically instructed not to record it? Yesterday there was not to be recorded because the number didn't exist. ये कल और आज में क्या फर्क हो गया?
Mr. Chhokar, these two are the same statement. There is no point in going into semantics post haste.
This is not semantics, sir.
Yeah, it is. You see, why was SBI? The SBI had given a very, very detailed. If you care to read the scheme guidelines, there is a very detailed format which somebody need to present at the time of application. Hundreds of information are asked. It provides a column for recording everything, but not recording the alphanumeric code because it did not exist. Right?
It did exist.
No, this is semantics. It did not exist practically for anyone. This was inside embedded as a security measure, which is very different than it existed.
Sir, who all could access this embedded number? No one. Access? No one means
no one except
no one means
no one.
No, it was embedded. If I bought the bond, if I bought the bond, the person who bought the bond could access it, correct? The person who bought the bond,
he can do it.
Okay. So ये जो data, when you say the alphanumeric doesn't exist, you mean for all practical purposes it was not meant to exist, but it did exist. It was embedded on the it was embedded in the bond. Yes. In the bond, it was inside the bond.
It was inside the bond.
So how has it been recorded to the detail? Okay, so how has it been recorded to the detail that it has today? Was the SBI at fault then, or is the SBI at fault today?
It was at fault at the time when they issued and received by noting this clandestinely and unlawfully, and it was at a bigger fault. It was at a bigger fault when, in response to what Supreme Court asked, that give us the bond details in terms of the date of the issue, the amount of the issue, and the buyer. Three information were to be given, and here comes the SBI, saying that we will match it if you give us 4 months.
No.
Okay, Jagdeep ji.
No. I mean, Mr. Garg may say it is semantic, but yesterday I will read the instructions once again. I have read them twice. I will read them again, and I will I'll come back to you with the specific expressions. But yesterday's statement by Mr. Garg, which is on tape, is that there was no need to record anything about the alphanumeric number because it did not exist.
It did not exist.
If there was nothing recorded, if there was nothing recorded, how the SBI was to know that it is not supposed to record it? It could not. It was silent because it did not exist.
Mr. Chhokar, I would suggest you go through the entire process of discussion and examination. SBI was very keen to have an audit trail. They wanted to record the number both ways. They approached us in the government that allow us to record this, record something, give us something to record. At that time, the bonds had not been printed, right? They sent, I think this is in the public domain now, those exchanges of letters.
The file notices are in the public domain.
Exactly. These are in public domain. SBI wanted to track, to do the audit trail, and therefore to embed some number somewhere on the bond so that they can track it. But the whole thing was examined, and the idea or the proposal of SBI was shot down. The only thing it was told to them was that there is some security feature which can be sort of looked at if If
So you are saying, Mr. Garg, that the SBI illegally, in violation of the rules of the electoral bonds at that time, made separate notings of this number that was otherwise embedded in this bond. I'm saying in now, not on. Mr. Chhokar, just 1
Absolutely.
minute. One of our viewers says, Barkha, it's as simple as shopkeepers tracking currency note serial number with the Aadhaar of the person using the currency note. Do you see this analogy?
No, I don't see. The currency note has a serial number on it, not inside it. No one tracks the currency note with the security feature, one of the 17 security features embedded inside the currency note. There is whole world of a difference between the serial number which is on the currency note and
Well,
nothing to identify.
sir, it's the same serial number that is now out. वो serial number
Of
वही तो है
course,
जो
now it is out. Now it is out, and not only the number is out, number could have ever been like Poonam Agarwal or anyone could have seen the number if they knew that the only thing which is required is ultraviolet light. But this is of no use for the system unless it is recorded
It is.
by SBI.
It
Okay,
is.
Jagdeep ji, बोलिए.
No, there are a couple of things here. Number one, first we were talking about the instructions issued when the electoral bond scheme was notified. Mr. Garg yesterday said there was no mention of the number in that scheme, in that description, because it did not exist. Today, he said the SBI was told that they should not record this number. These two statements need to be cross-checked. I will cross-check from
I
the
would-
detailed
Please do it.
description. I will do that from the
Yeah,
scheme.
please do, Mr. Chhokar.
Yeah.
If you can find out any of the scheme instructions or communication which tells SBI that the alphanumeric code exists and you are supposed to record it.
No. I am saying exactly the opposite.
So, please find out.
No, the scheme does not say that the alphanumeric code exists. I agree. But the scheme does not say anything to the SBI whether to record it or not record it, according to your statement, because the alphanumeric code did not exist. Now you are saying SBI was told that they should not record it. These two, my dear sir, are different. Number two, let
No,
me.
both
Mr. Garg, एक minute. Jagdeep ji, you finish your point, then Mr. Garg.
let me
I
both these
need to
statements-
finish.
अच्छा,
Yeah,
okay. एक करके Jagdeep ji and then Mr. Garg. Jagdeep ji, please.
What I get a sense of from today's discussion, which is a kind of a discovery to me, that the real intention was that the buyer can note down the number, because the buyer has access to the physical bond. The buyer can look at it under the ultraviolet thing and note down the number. The redeemer can also see the number and record down. Only the buyer and the redeemer were supposed to see it. Nobody else. This is my understanding. But
No.
okay, please go ahead. Please correct this understanding. I would like to know that.
Yes, that's correct. So
And why did you say no?
that's what I am explaining. Since this was a non-existent feature, buyer or the political party, if they knew it, they could note it. But it is not, the scheme was not supposed to tell them that you note it. There is a difference.
No, scheme
Right.
was not supposed to tell them. Agreed. And scheme
Right.
didn't tell them.
So that is
But
your statement. Let me now respond to your statement. Seems to
I did
indicate-
finish my statement, sir.
Right,
Anyway, go ahead.
right.
Respond.
Exactly. So anyone like Poonam Agarwal, anyone who could decipher it can note it. We don't care. But it does not matter until SBI records it at both the end. And to come back to your earlier statement about you going, please do that research. It would be
I will
useful.
do that.
Right. But find out, if you can, any express.
I'm not even saying you. I'm not
No,
looking for that.
no, no,
I am
no.
looking
In
for.
the-
I am
in
looking
the
for
guidelines.
SBI being told not to record it.
Okay, let's
So-
ask you that directly,
No, no,
Mr. Garg.
no,
You
no,
said
no, no,
the
let me-
SBI.
no, no,
Eight minute. You
Barkha ji,
said.
no,
Acha,
एक मिनट Barkha ji. I
Okay.
must
Okay.
either any express mention in the scheme guidelines or correspondence about the number or to record it, or even an implicit. That's what I'm
Agreed.
giving a challenge to you. Any implicit communication which expected or allowed SBI to record it.
Can I
I
ask you
would-
the opposite? Can I ask you the reverse question?
Yes.
Was there an explicit instruction to SBI to not record the embedded number? You said that the SBI illegally, aapne bola bhi, the SBI illegally noted this number. It was embedded in the bond. It was not meant for any third person collation, right? Which clearly has happened. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the data. Was there a specific instruction to the SBI? क्योंकि आपने कहा SBI ने audit trail की इच्छा prefer express की थी. Were they told at that time that no, you cannot record the numbers?
See, their request or suggestion was shot down, and they were only told in writing that there is something we will build into the bond as a security feature, which is printed by someone else, right? Now, to respond to your observation, that was SBI expressly told not to record the alphanumeric number. I think we were not that foolish, that we will sort of suggest that there exists a number and you don't record it. No, this